Cool, man. So what you've been playing Fallout 4, I guess, mostly. Anything else?
Who?
You.
Oh, God, we switched over to me because I just sort of butted into Ryan's bit.
It was so seamless, you didn't even notice it.
Yeah, I thought it was super smooth.
Okay, all right. Then. Okay, ask the question again.
Okay.
Select characters, where gaming meets analysis.
Hello and welcome to the 30th episode of the Select Characters Podcast. I'm Sam Yates. I will be your host, and joining me, I have the recent sweet little birthday baby boy, Christopher Anderson.
Hi.
Another year older, another year wiser. Enrique had a birthday too, but he's not with us. So two little baby boys growing
And
up.
I'm fresh off the plane as well.
So nice, so nice. Did you have a good one?
Yeah, it was all right. It was a good holiday. I enjoyed it. Don't like flying, though, so that was a bit of a downer.
Yeah, flying sucks. I hate flying.
Yeah, right. I keep telling
It's the
people that,
worst.
but they just look at me like I'm mad.
Oh, I dread it. I can't stand it.
Yeah, right? People just keep telling me they're just like buses. Stop freaking out. Like, right, yeah. They're like buses, only 10 kilometers in the fucking air.
Yeah, and it's got like weird smells and the air pressure's right, but not right at the same time. And like, it's I don't like it.
Yeah. And on the way there, I was sat in between two couples, and both of them had screaming children.
That's good. Builds character.
Just great. Just get you in that holiday mood real quick. But yeah, I'm back. I'm glad to be back.
All right. And speaking of holidays, Thanksgiving's coming up, so Ryan Dill died and brought the cornucopia. What's up, man?
I did. I actually just had Thanksgiving with my in-laws, which was an event. And yeah, it's been good. I'm ready for the break. I get a break coming up.
Yeah, I think I do.
Chris doesn't. You guys don't do that stuff over there.
Nah, we're way too cultured for that stuff.
But inside this majestic podcasting cornucopia, we've got some what you've been playing. We've got some topics all lined up. So let's get settled in and let's start the show. All right, and it has been another excellent week for video games. Let's talk a little bit about what we've been playing, and let's start with Ryan.
Well, I've been most of my time has been taken up by Pokemon because that Game Club video about Pokemon Fire Red will be out Thursday. So that's been the bulk of my playing. But other than that, I've played a couple rounds of Counter-Strike, but what I've really been hooked on is I jumped back into Rocket League and I started playing the what's it called? The modifier or something? Modifier mashup? Or mutator mashup or something?
Yeah. Oh, tell me about that.
That's all I've been playing. It is so fun.
It's ridiculous.
The only one I don't like is the Time Warp one. Have you guys played that?
I haven't played any of them, so feel free to dish.
Is that the one where time slows down when you're very close to the ball?
Yeah. So anytime anybody gets close to the ball, time slows down. But it just makes you like. Well, we ended up we stopped using the Wi-Fi hotspot and we actually got our own internet like adults. And it just feels like I'm playing with desync again when like I'm playing the Time Warp one because anytime, it slows down every 5 seconds. So that one's okay, but all the others I think are great. The square ball, the fast one with low gravity is probably my favorite. Or the big ball with low gravity is probably my favorite.
Yeah,
and the small one's okay, but I think I like the big ball with the fast recharge on your boost, so you can just fly everywhere. Yeah, but that's what I've been doing this week. It's been kind of chill just because finals are coming up, so I've been playing games that I can hop in and out of real quick. But yeah, I'm kind of itching to get back into games I can really dive into, though.
Is that DLC or is that just...
That is free.
Oh, awesome.
That's free LC.
Anything else on your radar in the future? Like something that you can't wait to jump into?
I'd have to pull up my Steam. I'm excited to jump back into DayZ, which I know it's a title I've played a lot in the past, but they're making quite a few improvements on it. And it's looking really good in this experimental, but as far as new games go, I'm debating on buying Fallout 4. I've still on the fence about that one, and Star Wars 2 I'm kind of on the fence about.
Fallout, the longer you wait, the better it'll be.
That's definitely true. It can't get much worse than it is now.
I've heard some people say, oh, it's fantastic, it's awesome, like more of the awesome game you love, and then there's other people who are like, man, this is real slow. And usually the people who say it's real slow are people who haven't really played Bethesda games, and I'm one of those people. So it's like, I don't know if I don't want to jump in and not enjoy it.
I've played about 20 hours of it now.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see how I can phrase this without sounding like a massive dick. Bethesda fucked it.
Really?
Completely. In my opinion, it's essentially Fallout 3 with some extra mechanics thrown into it. It's as buggy, the pacing's as off, the characters look as dead behind the eyes as ever. It's essentially the same game.
That's what I kind of feel like people are leaning towards as a whole, but then I've been hearing a lot of people who are like, oh, well, it's still good, blah, 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 and I think they're maybe just trying to, prop the game up as long as they can because it's a Fallout game.
I like, if you like Bethesda games, you're used to this stuff by now.
Yeah.
But if you like, games that are actually finished when they come out, stay away from it until it's on sale for like a $5 or something. It's just terrible. It plays like ass. I'm sorry.
What were you playing it on, Chris?
PC.
Oh, well, no excuses then, really.
Right? It's like I got Dogmeat, that dog, and the first thing that happened is like we got attacked by moles, and he jumped on one, and that launched the dog plus the mole 30 feet into the air. And I'm like, really?
Yeah.
All right.
And no, there's this one boss that you're supposed to run away from and get into a power armor and then defeat him, but that boss got stuck behind, I don't know, some loose bit of rock on the street, so it couldn't move, and it started to glitch out, so I could just kill it with a low-level shotgun.
Nice.
It's just stuff like that should not happen within the first 30 minutes. Yet
You found his one weakness, a little piece of rubble.
Yeah. I'm not very positive about Fallout 4 and Bethesda's continued commitment to letting the community fix their games. I don't know. I can't get behind that.
I see where you're coming from.
Those seem like the kind of things that could really go either way. Like, you could spin that, depending on how you wanted to interpret it. Like, I feel like it's open both ways. Like, you could see it as a bad thing, or you could see it as a medium thing. But,
oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like, just in general.
Yeah.
So, it's tough. But also, you're absolutely right to say, like, what do you expect from a Bethesda RPG? Like, that's just kind of the way it goes.
Yeah, but isn't that a bit sad? Like, it's a Bethesda game.
I guess. I've always leaned on the idea that it's not exactly possible for them to work out all those kinks in a feasible way.
Well, that's because the engine is about 12 years old now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
It's
there's
very
that.
old.
But I mean, also just like playtesting. Like, what's the ratio of man hours you need to, like, get all the bugs out of a world like that? It seems almost impossible.
Yeah, but those bugs have been in their games for years on end now.
True.
At this point, I'm just convinced that Bethesda is just a financial department, and then there's a very small room with about 50, 18-year-old coders just making their games. It feels like an amateur mod at times.
Do you think you're going to buy Bethesda in the future after Fallout 4?
That's a tough one, really.
Nobody else is making Bethesda games, though. That's the problem, really. They sort of have that market cornered. Although their best game was Morrowind, I think. They haven't really nailed it as much since then. But if they could go back to that, I'd be buying them again.
Here's the thing with Bethesda games. Like, every time I hear a new one is coming out, on paper it sounds absolutely amazing and sounds like everything that I want in a game ever. So I buy it. And then I find out after about 20, 25 hours, like, this is shit. Why did I do this?
Yeah, I don't know. I played, man, this was a long time ago, but like I said, I never played any Bethesda games, and I bought Oblivion probably like 3 or 4 years ago, just because I remember my friends obsessing about it when I was a kid. So I bought it, and I tried to play it, and I got like 2 hours in, and I was like, man, this is way too boring. And the combat felt too floaty, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like it just didn't feel like it had weight to it, and I was like, this is really slow, and it just didn't catch me.
I don't think they've ever exactly nailed the combat, but
Mm-mm.
it seems like they got a different part of it right in each of the games. Like, I think Skyrim had the best, like, controlling and, like, playing game, but the quests and everything were a bummer. And then like Morrowind, the world was amazing, but everything else sort of took a backseat. Like the combat was a huge bummer, except for the fact that you could approach anything in almost any way you wanted to. It felt like a true sandbox in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what Bethesda games are really, really good for. They let you loose in this compelling world, and you can just do whatever you like within that. And credit where it is due, the combat, like the gunplay in Fallout 4, is tons better than it was in 3. You don't need the VATS system to fight battles anymore. You can just play it as a shooter if you so desire, which is a huge step up from Fallout 3.
It sounds cool. I mean, I guess I'd like to play it that way. I don't know. But then VATS is just sort of, you strip away that whole, well, I want to say you strip away the strategic layer, but it's not like VATS is that strategic, but it's still a little something.
It's more strategic now than it was in Fallout 3 because it doesn't pause the game anymore when you go into VATS.
Whoa.
Time goes in slow-mo, so you do have to make your decisions in a certain amount of time.
That's kind of cool.
Okay.
I like that change.
Yeah, that's a pretty good change. I will concede that.
All right, so Chris, outside of Fallout 4, what you been playing?
I've been jumping back into Heroes of the Storm again, which I do every other month.
Oh my god, that happened to me too.
Did you play Cho'Gall?
Yeah, I did. I guess that's
it?
what it was. I guess it was like, hey, come get Cho'Gall, and I was like, all right, cool. And then I ended up playing that game like a lot this week. He's weird, dude, but fun.
What is he?
Well, he's a two-headed ogre, and it needs 2 players to operate the hero.
Whoa.
Yeah, so one of them
does the
drives.
walking.
Yeah, and the other person like has some bombs that bounce that you can throw, but there's also attacks that go together. Like the one guy rolls this ball, and then whoever's the other one has to detonate it.
Here's a question: how the hell does that work?
It just
it
does.
works pretty good if you're not with random people.
So is it like a 6-on-5 then when somebody plays Cho'Gall?
No, it's 5-on-4.
Oh.
No, it's 5 on.
Yeah.
No,
on,
it's got to be
on
5 on
3,
6.
isn't it? Oh wait, yeah, you're right. Yeah, 5 on 4.
Yeah, as far as like the actual characters modeled in the game.
Yeah, because Cho'Gall, he basically consists of 2 heroes. You've
Oh.
got Cho and Gal. And Cho is he's the tank, I believe, and Gal is an assassin. So they count as 2 heroes, and killing Cho'Gall nets you 2 kills as well.
That's very interesting.
But he's got, stacked HP and all kinds of stuff.
I think
He's got a lot of HP.
I haven't played Heroes in a very long time, but I think I'll hop in again.
Yeah, and the hero's free. You just need to find somebody who has it, who can play 2 games with you, and after that, you unlock him as well.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that was funny, because then, like, right afterwards, you get a quest that's like, play 4 games with somebody who doesn't have them. But by the time I got to it, that was almost impossible. Like, general spam was just like, who needs Cho'Gall? Who needs Cho'Gall? Like, all over the place.
Yeah, I actually unsubscribed from the general chat due to that, because it was just people complaining about other people asking if somebody wanted to play a Cho'Gall game. And
Yeah, and I want my
2 days of that,
$2,000
no,
though.
fuck
Like,
it.
I really do want my $2,000, but everybody already has him.
Yeah, $2,000 is like 3 days worth of daily quests. Who cares?
But I'll tell you what, that did work to suck me back in, because I ended up playing a bunch of games. But for some reason, I like to play on the auto select, and I got Zeragar? I think that's the name of the thing. Mm-hmm. Like every single time, I was like, okay, this is not very random at all.
It's Sagara, I believe.
Yeah, that's the one that makes the banelings.
Yeah, why play random?
I just think it's fun.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm playing a lot of Hero League, so I'm not really doing random stuff.
Yeah.
I want to get good at specific heroes, and I'm actually getting really, really good at Sylvanas now. So I'm just focusing on that.
Yeah, I want to get there. I'm not 30. 30 seems like it's a long way away, but
I hit level 40 like months ago.
it's taken me forever. But I mean, that game is still pretty cool. I don't know if I'll keep playing it, but that was enough to get me back in there for like 3 days.
Blizzard's games are like crack to me, basically. I quit them every 2 months, and then I come back after a month, and then I'm hardcore into it for another 3 months. It's happened with World of Warcraft, it's happened with Hearthstone, it's happened with Heroes of the Storm, and I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to happen with Overwatch, which is starting to look better every single day.
Yeah.
In my opinion, and the fact that it's a buy to play game makes me even happier.
Yeah, I'm pretty
That
stoked
means you
about
can
that
just
too.
unlock everything.
Yeah, I'm ready to play a Blizzard first-person shooter. Like, let's see what that's all about.
I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, and it's not... Well, it has a game mode that is very similar to one of the game modes in Team Fortress 2, but it doesn't play like Team Fortress 2 at all. It plays more like Dota.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, apart from that one game mode, like people comparing it to Team Fortress 2 seem to be selling Overwatch a bit short, because it is definitely its own game.
It's so funny too. It seems like Super Monday Night Combat come out and everybody thought that was a cool idea, and then like 2 years later, now that game's dead, like all the games are starting to come out like that people saw it and inspired by it. I feel like I've seen 2 or 3 different ones where they're like, okay, it's like a first person team based thing, but there's creeps.
Yeah, like Smite is another one of those, isn't it?
I think that one's third person. I actually haven't played much, but that seems close to the same kind of formula. Yeah.
I'm not sure if Overwatch has creeps, actually. I think the Dota slant to the gameplay is the abilities that the heroes have and the ultimates that they unlock after a while.
Oh, that's a bummer. I wanted there to be creeps. I want to play Super Monday Night Combat more, but I guess not quite. I want to play Blizzard's version of Super Monday Night Combat. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on that. It's in May next year, I believe, that it's coming out. Looking forward to that.
Cool. Anything else this week?
Well, I wasn't home for the better part of this week, so I think that wraps it up for me. It was mostly wasted on Fallout 4, and the emphasis here is definitely on wasted.
Oh, you say that now, but I bet you had some fun.
Yeah, like okay, I will concede that. Like the first half hour with the whole introduction where you start before the apocalypse or you go into the vault, that is stellar. That really like sets the tone. And when you step out of the vault for the first time, that's really great. And then you start walking around and you start doing quests a little bit, and then you sort of start to realize, like, oh right, yeah, this is Bethesda doing it, of course. Never mind.
I like it when Chris doesn't like a game. He really doesn't like a game.
Oh, don't get me started on Darksiders 2, by the way, which I also had to play for a review. That was...
Oh, you had to finish that, huh? Or did you?
So I pawned it off to somebody else because I couldn't do it.
Nice.
I just couldn't do it.
I mean, delegation is a valuable skill.
Yeah, no, I just asked somebody at Tech Rep to, like, somebody else bought the definitive edition. Yeah, you. Cool. You do that thing for me so I can do other stuff.
That's right. Important stuff. Other very important stuff.
Bad games.
Let's see. Well, I played some good games this week. I actually dug real into Invisible Ink for a while after kind of flirting with it for a little while. And that game is really, really tight. There's some, just like the ability to take procedurally generated worlds, but add that level of stress and interest to planning your moves and how to sneak around and get around everybody. It's like the puzzles that it dynamically generates are pretty amazing.
It's a very good algorithm then.
Yeah, it is.
I'm looking at it right now, and this is such a Sam game.
It is. I mean, that's true. That is really true.
This is an extremely Sam game.
Ryan, what does that mean?
It looks extremely technical. It looks like there's a lot of systems to figure out and break down.
Yeah, that's about right.
Just glancing at the UI on Steam, it looks like there's a lot to it. Like it's a board game.
It's got move points and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and you got to kind of duck around the guards, and you can create all these interesting distractions and stuff. It's actually really compelling. It's a lot of fun. Except for I made it through like the first mode, like the beginner mode, and then I was playing the expert mode, and I made it to the very last level, and I got to a security door that I couldn't open, that I needed to open to beat the level, and it was so upsetting to me. And I don't even know how I was supposed to open this door. And so that was a huge bummer, because that was like a whole playthrough, and I made it all the way through this facility with like 30 dudes, and then just got to a door that I couldn't open. I don't know if it was a bug or what, but that was a tremendous, tremendous bummer. But not enough to not enough to turn me off. I think I'll jump back into it, try to get there again. But yeah, that was a huge bummer. Let's see. I played a little bit of Sanctuary RPG Black, which is like an ASCII-based role-playing game.
That's
like,
why I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it's like they went for a specific direction with the art style to be kind of ASCII style. And it's pretty interesting, but the combat system sort of reminded me of Neo Scavenger in a way. Mm-hmm. So I ended up just playing that for a little bit instead. With the like moves and counter moves and kind of positioning and all that stuff, like the combat where, you know, it sort of matters what you do and what order and how far away from the person you are and all this stuff. But overall, I think that game's pretty all right. And then I topped that off with a little bit of Vertiginous Golf, which is a mini golf game in a steampunk world.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's a mini golf game in a steampunk world.
That sounds oddly compelling.
Yeah, it is fun. I mean, because I had that thing, I guess we were talking about it off of here, but like about golf games and like what is the deal with golf games, and I just wanted to play one.
What is that question even?
Well, I mean, what was the last like awesome golf game you played?
Never.
Junior high, because that was our only game on the computers.
Yeah.
And there was this little golf game, and we played it.
Yeah. See, there's a few golf games I like, but I don't like the realistic simulation ones. Like, I like Hot Shots
It's got to
Golf.
be dumb. It's got to be like mini golf or something. It can't be real.
Yeah, I like Mario Golf a whole lot, and...
Oh, yeah, I like that one. Mario Golf was good.
So, I was looking for something, but I don't think mini golf's doing it. Like, I really want to drive the ball, too, so I don't know what the answer is exactly there. Maybe if you could drive the ball into a mini golf course or something. But something about golf games is really compelling to me. I don't know why. It's something about, like, estimating what's about to happen in a digital space is sort of something you don't really see that much. So you have to, like, use your, like, thinking about, okay, this is going to happen, and then, like, trying to, like, direct the ball through all that, you know, those factors that are going to influence it, and just watching it go. Like, that whole process, I don't think is in a lot of places except for golf video games. But, I mean, this game's cool. It's got ramps, and it's got, you know, chutes and ladders and holes and all the stuff you want. It's got multiplayer, which is weird, with power-ups and, like, you can shoot other people's balls and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, the game's just kind of fascinating in general. It's pretty fun. It's definitely worth a play.
Steampunk, though. That is a very interesting choice.
Yeah, and they try to go all story mode with it, too. Like, the people on the ground versus the people in the sky, and, like, the whole golf game is, like you actually, when you start, you're not even on a golf course. Like, you're controlling a person, and you walk through the doors of this golf simulation shop, and then you sit in a chair, and they, like, shoot electricity into your brain, and then you get transported into the sky where you're playing golf. Like, I think the Vertiginous Golf game is there to distract the peasants from their super shitty lives on the ground.
What the hell?
And then, like, you kind of,
right.
if you play story mode, you go through the courses and hit these records, and they start playing audio clips of, like, the rebellion and, like, the social structure of this entire place, which I love. Like, it's exactly the kind of ridiculous that I think is awesome.
Wow.
So, like, layers and layers and layers, it's really good just to play, you know, like, it makes me smile. I think it's really funny. Oh, wait, one more thing. You have a little mechanical hummingbird so that you can use him to fly around and look at the course ahead of you to plan your shot. Because, of course, right?
Yeah, I love that.
And there's outfits, so you can customize your little steampunk outfits.
Oh, you gotta have that, of course.
You do. It's in a shop right next to the virtual golf shop.
Oh. I actually want to play that now.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it really is cool. I like a lot of the stuff they're doing there. It's interesting.
Huh.
And I think that about wraps up my week. And then Heroes of the Storm, you know, because I had to get that chokeall, but that was about it for me.
All right, then.
Yeah, let's, you guys want to move on and talk about some topics?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So what are your guys' biggest turn-offs when it comes to games?
That's a great question. There's a lot. For me, it's got to be something about wasting my time.
Okay.
Or not moving at an appropriate pace drives me absolutely nuts.
Yeah, I think that one's a bit more acceptable because technically we're all wasting time when we're playing video games, obviously.
Yeah, totally. But if you give me, like, enough time, my brain sort of breaks out of the video game.
Yeah.
And I lose all my immersion and escapism and all that good stuff that I'm trying to get out of it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and most of the time it's relatively benign. Like, like, this animation looks really cool, and at first, like, it is really cool, but after you've been playing the game for 10 hours, it's just like, you're just sitting there and watching it play out again. And that stuff always drives me nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I don't want to fall back on that one again, but getting in and out the power armor in Fallout 4, that definitely qualifies.
Yeah. So loading screens, I mean, kind of do it too. Just anything that gives you time enough to just break immersion is a huge bonus.
That's why I like the loading screens in most of the Assassin's Creeds, actually, because they have like that white room that you can just sort of walk around in. It's just interactive enough to keep you engaged.
Yeah, you do a couple sweet moves and then like you're back into the game again.
Yeah, exactly.
What was it? Was it Konami who trademarked the mini games in the loading screen thing?
Could be.
Somebody grabbed it for a while. I don't know if it's expired yet or not, but somebody actually had a patent on the ability to play mini games during loading screens.
Yeah.
And that's why even though it's like an amazing idea, like it never happened again.
That's an extremely smart patent.
Well, the last thing I remember about this was that the company that had the patent doesn't have the patent anymore.
Thank God.
So maybe we'll see more of that in the not too distant future.
Because I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. I think for me the biggest turn off is when I don't know what to do in a game.
It was Namco. I just want to drop
it was
that.
Namco?
I just want to get my facts correct. It was Namco. Yeah.
But yeah, I remember actually, since we're playing Pokemon this week, I've been playing through it, and there's been points where I've gotten to in the game where I remember when I was a little kid playing, the original Red and Blue versions. I would get places and have no idea where to go, and I understand that Pokemon's a pretty straightforward game in terms of where to go. But, I mean, I was 6, so. But yeah, I just remember getting to points like, I have a really vague memory of not knowing what to do with a key card, I think in Goldenrod City in Pokemon Silver. And I was stuck for like, probably 2 weeks trying to figure out what to do with that dumb card until I called my friend who had the guide, and then he told me what to do.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing really it's like, after a certain point, it's not even like I just put the game down if I can't figure out what to do.
It depends on what was the solution to that one. Was it just go to the right place?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, so like the payout in that situation doesn't even come close to being like enough to make you feel super cool. Like after you went through the frustration, you're not like, yeah, I figured it out. You're just like, all right, now this door's open, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really dislike that as well.
I find it with not so much games anymore. I feel like games tend to be too far the other way now. But just growing up, I remember there were a lot of games where Star Ocean on PS2, what was that? It was Star Ocean Till the End of Time. And there were 3 or 4 instances in that game where I absolutely could not figure out what to do. And we had dial-up, so I couldn't go online and like look up a walkthrough. And I ended up beating that game, but it probably took me 2 years to beat that game just because I got stuck so much.
I'll tell you something. The reason you just gave us, that is one of the reasons why I couldn't continue playing Darksiders 2, because of the puzzles. I don't like puzzles. I really don't.
I think they're all right as long as they don't involve you just like wandering around.
Well, that's
Yeah.
usually
I like
what
the puzzles
happens.
like Portal or something where they give you all the pieces and you can look at it and say, okay, how do I make these things interact to like, solve the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
But like the puzzles that are just like you need to wander around and talk to the right person. That doesn't feel you don't feel successful when you figure that out. You just feel like you spent enough time and did enough things that it just eventually was going to cave in anyway.
I think Portal 2 is the exception to that rule, to be honest, for me at least. Outside of Portal 2, really don't like puzzles, and especially environmental puzzles. I'm just not wired that way. I think maybe I'm just too stupid to figure it out on my own, but I always need the internet to solve stuff like that. Just start banging my head against the wall. I really don't like it. So that's a pretty big turn off. If something markets itself as a big puzzle game, like for instance the Tomb Raider games, I can take I can take them or leave them. I just don't like the environmental puzzle stuff. So yeah, whenever a game markets itself as being puzzle heavy, I usually skip it because I know that I'll be more frustrated than entertained.
I mean, you could say, I doubt that has as much to do with you as it does with puzzle design in general.
Could be.
It's a really tricky thing to get right, I think.
You're giving me a bit too much credit there, I think.
You can have all the credit you need. I mean, they're video game puzzles. It's not like, I mean, like, generally speaking, they're just designed... They're not designed to be, like, clever or interesting. They're just designed to take up a little bit of time and have you guaranteed able to pass through them.
Yeah.
It feels like they're just time sinks, is what I'm saying.
That's the worst thing when you're playing a game and, like, they introduce something and it's only there for that reason. It's the worst. Who did that? Telltale's The Walking Dead does that a few times.
They do?
And it's like, do I really need to be looking for this thing, or do I really need to be doing this? And it doesn't take that much time, but it just feels like busy work.
And basically every older game is almost susceptible to that because they had limited content. And, you weren't going to buy... Games weren't coming out as fast as they are now, so, like, they would drag out the amount of time you'd be spending in there in a bunch of ways that now we realize are kind of a bummer.
Well, padding's all right. It's just you have to pace all the padding correctly in order for it to be effective. Like, the moment you sort of take somebody out of the game because it becomes too frustrating, that is the moment where you have failed in designing something, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair, for sure. And I mean, the thing is, you get a lot of games now aren't even actually designed, so to speak, as much. Like a lot of the open world games and stuff like that, like they just set it all out there, but it's not exactly tailored for a linear experience, I guess.
Yeah,
I feel like a lot of the creativity and design sort of shines through in a more linear experience than it does in these giant sandbox games that seem to be the trend right now.
I'm not entirely sure about that one, actually. Could be. I'm disagreeing with you. I'm not agreeing with you either.
That's fair. Let's see. What else?
Forced tutorials, man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
that's a good one.
I hate tutorials.
Yeah, just give us a tooltip or something, right? Don't make us go through an entire level.
There's no reason why I need a tutorial, unless it's an overly complex game. If it's Battlefield, I don't need a tutorial on how to play back,
Yeah, that ties into that whole learned behavior thing again, doesn't it? Because most people are aware of how a shooter works or how an open world, like climbing thing like Assassin's Creed works by now. And we don't need an entire level at the start of the game that slowly tells us which buttons do what. Like, we can figure that out within 5 minutes of playing.
I read something recently where, I can't remember who wrote it, but the author was basically asking why do we need to be taught to play video games every single time we play them, where we don't need to be taught to, enjoy different types of movies or enjoy a book or you don't need, like in games, you have the mechanical aspect, but once you get to a certain point, isn't the mechanical aspect kind of commonplace, like in FPS games? Like, we all know that right trigger is going to be shoot.
Yeah, for us, that's pretty obvious, but do remember that a lot of games try to be all-inclusive, and as such have to cater to the lowest common denominator.
Yeah, there's going to be one person who's like, I can't get under this log. I don't know what's going on. I quit. Like,
that's true.
Just make it optional then. I mean, in that case. The other thing is, though, is like, I'll often find that 90% of a tutorial is just like, ugh, whatever. But there'll be like 1 or 2 nuggets of information that are actually really useful later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish there was a way to distill that and make it like better or something. I don't know exactly.
There's got to be a way, because there's games like, I mean, I bought Attila, Total War, a few months ago, and it started taking me through the tutorial and like tooltips and all that stuff. And that game is so deep, it's like the first 3 hours of playing is tutorial, and it's just, I don't know. There's got to be a better way to do that.
Well, I like tooltips. Tooltips, they can be ignored if you so desire, and if you don't want to ignore them, they don't interrupt gameplay.
Yeah, that's a good point. You just hover over the thing and like, what does this do? Okay, great.
Yeah, League of Legends does that, which people complain about the shitty tutorial in League of Legends all the time, but it's working. Somehow it's working,
Yeah, I guess to their credit, as bad as they are, you only have to go through it once.
Yeah.
And people are somehow learning to play the game. I mean, I agree the tutorial is pretty bad. Like, they have you buying the wrong items on the wrong characters and doing all that kind of stuff. But it gets you into the game. It gets you to the basics.
The one in Heroes of the Storm, very, very basic, works because of, basically brand recognition. because Ufa,
Yeah.
one of the biggest characters in Warcraft lore, is helping you through that. So, yeah, that sort of helps to kick things along, basically. It's still boring.
Yeah. Makes it kind of fun. I do like the thing in tutorials where they tell you, like, where they use the tutorials to set the controls, like in FPSs, where they're like, look up at this light, and then it knows, like, whether you like your Y-axis inverted or not.
Yeah, remember Halo Combat Evolved? That did that.
Yeah, that seems pretty clever. I think.
Yeah, I did like that because that was in universe. There was an actual like lore reason for why that was happening to Master Chief, because he was just waking up out of stasis and he had to recalibrate the entire suit. That I can understand, and that I don't mind because it's sort of fluid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's still not great, but at least it's something. It's a little better.
Yeah, it's the superior solution, I believe, instead of just making you go through a level and having the game pause at certain moments. That, like, I can't remember a specific game that did that, but I do remember seeing it. Like, you're walking through that first level, and then the game automatically pauses, after which a pop-up comes up with a little video of what you have to do now. Absolutely hate that.
No. Oh, no. No, thank you, sir.
Yeah, really don't
How do you guys feel about building tutorials where it's like, say in Rocket League, you have your car sitting there just stationary, and then they say, okay, to move forward, use the trigger, to turn, use your joystick, and they build, each thing. Do you prefer that kind of thing, or do you prefer like the tooltips or videos? Which one's your favorite?
Tooltips.
I guess it does depend on the game. I liked the ones in Rocket League because it was like an escalating challenge, and you gradually learned more and more about, like, you eventually learned to fly and like catch balls that are coming in sideways. Like,
Yeah, I never did those in Rocket League. I just started playing.
Still can't do them.
Which it in the perfect world, that's how I wish every game would be. But
you learn most things by doing them, not by reading about them or watching a video. At least not in video games. So give players the chance to figure out on their own, and I don't know, let the game anticipate things that you not doing all that well, and help you out based on that information. Like some games do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like a little space where you can kind of just explore and press all the buttons and kind of see what stuff does.
Yeah, exactly. So, any other turn-offs? Like big no-nos in video games?
Floatiness bothers me.
Floatiness.
Like, if your steps feel like they don't have weight, or your weapon feels like it doesn't have weight, or it doesn't have weight when it hits. You know what I mean? If you're playing a melee game and when you swing, it just feels like this floaty, nice little animation, and then no impact. That will make me put down a game right away. I saw a friend playing Skyrim a long time ago, and I saw that happen once, and that's why I didn't buy Skyrim. Is because I don't like it to not have impact.
Oh man, there's an article you should read that a guy named Tim Rogers wrote. It's called In Praise of Sticky Friction, and he details just a lot of different things about game feel, but what you're talking about is games that don't have friction. Like, go read that article later. It'll blow your mind. It's like one of the best written pieces I've ever read. But
I've got it pulled up.
He gets a lot into that stuff, and it makes a lot of sense. Like, it's really just as simple as like just some like microseconds of freeze frame, like when you hit somebody, and then like it makes all the difference in the world.
I just saw the clip of there's a clip from Do the Right Thing in here.
Yeah.
I like this article. I like this article a lot already.
I've got a good one. Grinding.
Oh God. Yeah.
I don't mind like a little bit of a grind because I want to work to get certain things in games. I really don't mind that. What I do mind is that continuous everyday grind ad infinitum, like the depressing carrot on a stick game type thing, which is kind of weird because I quite like Destiny, and that's all it is. It's just a carrot on a stick.
Yeah, it's that mindless thing where like there's no suspense, there's no challenge. You know exactly how this is going to pan out.
Right?
You know exactly the same thing you have to do every time, and then a bar goes up by a little bit every time you do it.
God,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah. I don't mind it if it's to get something in return. Like if I'm grinding for some legendary weapon or something like that, and I get it at the end, that's whatever because I chose to do that. But games that are like, they make you grind just to get to the next bad story point or something like that, it's terrible.
Let me tell you about the Destiny Sword quest. It is a terrible pit of despair where dreams go to die, And I've been working on that for weeks now. Still haven't gotten the fucking sword. And at this point, I don't even care about the sword anymore. I just want that quest out of my quest log. I just want to be done with it. But in order to do that, I had to do an insane amount of things. And it's like a 10-part quest as well. So every time I thought I was done with the quest, I turn it in and boom, there's a new step. Which is one of the reasons why I haven't picked up Destiny in 3 weeks, by the way.
Oh, that's a shame, man. That doesn't sound like fun at all.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
And it took me about 2 weeks to realize that I was not having fun. Fucking Destiny.
Yeah, that kind of grinding I could probably do without. I think that maybe a little bit is okay, because then you get the like time investment versus reward, and that all feels good. But you stretch out that beginning part too much, or it's just doing something that's not fun, like a combat encounter that you know exactly how it's going to turn out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no thanks, man. That's definitely a bummer.
God, I hate video games.
I don't like games that don't respect my time, I guess.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
This is the best way to say it. I mean, like, just as long as I'm making interesting decisions and like I'm thinking about what's going on, then we're having a good time. Everything's awesome, but just take out the mind-numbing, just repetitive tasks, I think.
Well, you don't really have to get those out of the games as long as that feedback loop is interesting to do. Then I'll keep playing it, no matter how repetitive it is. But make sure that it's interesting.
Another thing I don't like is like bad multiplayer implementation, like where they just add it in when it maybe doesn't need to be there.
Oh right,
yeah. Like when they tack on multiplayer to a single player game, and they're like, "Hey,
yeah, check this out," and then you're like, "This isn't
just
exactly
something to slap
fun."
on the box.
Got
I'm trying to
examples?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think of. I know I hate it, but I don't have any examples. So
hate it so much you've banished it from memory.
So in conclusion, video games are terrible.
Yeah.
And this will be the last episode of this.
Thank you for joining us in this experiment. It has been fun. I don't know.
We've all remembered that we don't like video games actually at all.
Yeah, I'm just gonna play football from now on, I guess.
Yeah. All right. See you next week.
We can get one more bad thing. All right, let's see. What do I hate? What do I absolutely hate?
Crafting. I don't like crafting.
Oh, crafting sucks. Crafting sucks.
Yes!
I hate crafting.
Does it?
I hate it.
Why?
Because I don't want to go... All right, here's the thing about it. I don't want to go out into the world and basically do a job. I don't want to forage plants and stuff. I don't want to collect 500 pieces of wood so I can build a shed. I don't care. Just don't do that to me.
What if it's a sweet shed?
It's still a shed. Give me more story.
Yeah, I don't like crafting. There's a point where it's kind of cool, like in Battle Royale, like you can craft bandages and that kind of thing, but that's cool. I don't like crafting where it's like to get something, like in a lot of MMOs do this, to get this certain piece of gear, you have to be like level 8 billion crafting, and it's like, I'm not going to sit here and do that. I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to take my Christmas break and sit here trying to grind,
Do you think that's because a lot of crafting in video games there's basically no mechanics there? It's like all menu driven and waiting on a bar to fill up. Like there's not a lot of gameplay involved.
And the gameplay
with crafting in general
involved sucks. Like it's go collect 20 sticks or something. It's not, I don't know, it's just...
Yeah, and then click on sticks, click on other sticks.
I think...
So maybe that's the problem. It's just not mechanically interesting.
I think that is maybe why me and Eve never worked out. Because it's just one long crafting menu, basically.
Yeah.
Which sucks, because that game looks very, very interesting. And all the stories that come out of that scene, very interesting.
I think that's...
Whenever I tried it, it's just...
I don't think people are necessarily... Well, I think they are very much into Eve, but I think a lot of the draw to Eve is that element that you don't realize when you're a new player. All that stuff that goes on outside of the game between people, I think is a real draw for that.
Well, I've seen a couple of people online. I've actually talked to some of them, and they say like, "Yeah, I'm a full-time miner in Eve," and I'm like,
"What?
Why?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?"
Pretty easy job though.
I hate crafting. I hate crafting. Screw crafting, basically.
Screw crafting.
Video games. Stop doing stuff I don't like. Why don't you cater to my specific tastes 100% of the time?
I was thinking as I was playing Invisible Ink about the concept of overbalancing a video game. I know that, you put balancing on a pedestal and you say, this game should be exactly weighted on both sides and you want the balance to be really tight and really perfect. But I feel like there's also a point where you can overbalance something and maybe things are too equal and it takes away some of the fun of being able to kind of get one over on the game and sort of, I don't know, like start getting some traction and being a little overpowered.
Right.
I think that's one of the more fun things in general about playing games, and not just Invisible Ink, but I guess also in Team Fortress 2, I felt that way because it's like everything that has strengths also has drawbacks and everything, balances out with everything else. But if you do that too much, I think it gets a little boring or there's just no flavor in it. So I wanted to see what you guys' thoughts were on that.
I don't when it's competitive gaming, you want it to be as balanced as possible because you want everyone to have a level playing field. But when it's in single player stuff, for instance, or it's just or it's in games that are specifically meant to be asymmetrical, then I really don't mind that. I actually like it. But with like your regular generic competitive video game, you want it to be 50-50.
Yeah, that's true. For multiplayer, I absolutely agree with you. And if you look at it like, okay, well, like the perfectly balanced video game, like if it was just numbers against numbers, like there's no flavor to that. Like, okay, like this game is exactly perfect and equal, but I'm also looking to sort of get a leg up and break that system. And so like, maybe it's just me being frustrated when a game comes along that I can't do that.
Well, the flavor comes not from asymmetry, but it comes from the skill of the actual players. If all the characters are exactly the same, all that you have to set yourself apart from the rest is your own skill, your own understanding of the game systems, and that's why you need balance. Because the only thing that will help you win that match is you.
Right.
I don't know, because I know League of Legends does their balancing a different way. Like, there's a really good extra credits video about it, and what they do is they basically offset the balance and they make certain characters overpowered, or a certain class or whatever overpowered, so that the game changes. So it's kind of a change of pace of what people have been playing the last year, and
influencing the meta, as it were.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool because that imbalance that Riot sets up turns into players balancing the game themselves. So if you make your carries, your attack damage carries really strong in a buff, you're going to see the rise of assassins go up, or you're going to see a rise in assassins. Does that make sense? So the game is kind of self-balancing, but not on part, or it's not balanced because of the developers. It's self-balancing because of the players.
Right. And that's where that's a case where they could easily like overbalance it, make everything as equal as possible, and then the game never changes and it becomes stagnant.
Yes.
Yeah, but in a game like League of Legends and by extension Heroes of the Storm and Dota 2, you don't want everything to be at 100% balanced because it's an asymmetrical multiplayer game.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. But like that's sort of, I guess, gets to the heart of the issue. Like they can overbalance that stuff, but I think they know where the line is to leave some wiggle room in there and keep it fresh and interesting.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Like, I guess, because, the other side of it is like every video game basically becomes Pong, which is good too for a certain type of game, but a game where you want, things to, I guess, be fresh and like happen quickly and stay interesting and like have stuff happen that you don't expect. I think you can go too far and you can squash everything down too much trying to get that sort of balance and equality. And I end up looking at a menu of stuff and like everything has advantages but also trade-offs, and nothing sort of stands out to me as like the way I want to go, because everything basically ends up in a just like this blob that all looks the same. And I feel like that's like when you overbalance and you kind of go too far in that direction.
I quite like it.
Multiplayer stuff, yeah.
Yeah, I quite like it when, for instance, in Heroes of the Storm, you've got certain heroes that are very, very strong, but can only be countered by that ability that other hero gets at a certain level. I think that is very interesting because you can get in some pretty interesting situations because of that system. Don't know if that makes sense.
It leaves the window open for like interesting gameplay situations.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Because I mean, you don't want every game to be Pong, I don't think.
No.
I mean, you could go the other way too, like if you don't balance right, then basically your game goes off the rails and it gets too much. But I guess I want to spotlight that there's like two sides to that coin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Would you say that the Dark Souls series is balanced?
That's tough to say. I guess in a way, but I mean, there's also ways to come at that. You know, I haven't really played much of the PvP, but I'd say the single player is reasonably balanced. The
Because
way
the
they
odds
want it
seem to be stacked in your favor or against you pretty significantly.
Yeah, I mean, there's like certain techniques and like ways you can do things to move the balance closer to you, but generally, yeah, the game will always be a little bit above you in that sense, and that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's close enough to the point where there's nothing that's absolutely going to break the game that I'm aware of. I know that there's some weapons that are stronger than other ones, and like, you know, but that comes down more to person's individual playstyle and how they want to approach the game, which I think is a way that makes sense to do that.
I guess you don't really recognize or realize balance if it's implemented well.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
It should be invisible. I think you're right, yeah. But I mean, I've also played those games. I don't have any examples that come exactly to mind, but where like your next upgrade is just 20 more than the last thing that you had, and then 20 more than the last thing you had.
Yeah.
So like the game stays tight, you know, like you stay exactly the same amount of power relative to the challenges that you're facing. So that game is balanced very well, but not in an interesting way. So you look at it like if it was a mathematical equation, you'd be like, oh, sweet, X equals X. Like this is perfect. But I guess in that case, you put more on the player. Like you were saying, right? Like it comes down more to player skill.
Yeah.
And like your ability to manipulate things than it does to the actual stats of your weapons and items and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's just because it gets too generic in a way, I guess.
Yeah,
And that, I don't know.
I think it just seems to me that the best way to balance, I mean, because say you have a game with the most balanced, you know, setup possible. There's gonna be some imbalance. Like no one's ever created a game that's perfectly balanced outside of like, I don't know, a card game or something, you know?
Rocket League is insanely balanced.
Yeah, but don't the cars all have different speeds now?
No.
I thought that was a myth.
Oh, was it?
Not that I'm aware of.
I think the hitboxes might be a little bit different, but I actually
but
don't know.
They said that the hitboxes there are different hitboxes on every car, but the difference is so small that it's insignificant. So it might as well not be there.
But everybody has exactly the same tools, and you're in exactly the same situation. I mean, with very, very small differences. So that game is balanced well just by virtue of being exactly balanced.
Yeah, so the meta that stems from Rocket League is going to be the same always as long as the game never changes. And I think that's where you get the staleness. And a game where the developers purposely unbalance the game is going to live a lot longer because you have players who are constantly having to adapt. And even though they may not like this patch and whatever is the best strategy at that time, they know it's going to change in the future. So they're going to stay along with that game. And I don't know, maybe we'll see in 5 years if Rocket League still has a huge player base. Maybe it's that sound of an idea, and that sound of the balancing is that sound, or maybe it'll just drop off because everybody gets it, you know?
No, I think it's going to take quite some time for someone to completely get Rocket League. Even though it's completely balanced, it is still an extremely hard game, made even harder by it being a multiplayer game. And people are unpredictable.
I think I figured it out. What it is that if all the tools that you can pick from are exactly equal in their benefits and trade-offs and numbers and all that stuff, then there's no decision there at all. Mm-hmm. Right? I think maybe that's the best way to define a game that is overbalanced.
Right. There's no spice left in it.
Yeah, everything's exactly equal. It doesn't matter what I pick. Okay,
yes,
so you need to find a way to unbalance that just a little bit so that I can choose based on my preference or what I think is cool or what I think is going to give me a little bit of an edge. So don't do that, I guess, is what I'm saying. But like that is a thing that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's what that's what it all falls down to in the end is you can't make a game so balanced that it removes any chance of choice.
And I do think that what you have is very different environments for single player versus multiplayer games. I think that getting to that point in a multiplayer game makes sense and is a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like what, Counter-Strike, right? Everybody has access to the exact same tool set. And everything is theoretically balanced against each other based only on the player skill. That's what you want for multiplayer. Single player, I want everything to be a struggle, but I also want to be able to find a way to manipulate that in a way that makes sense to me so that I come out with just a little bit of an edge on the game. Because that's what feels good. Yeah,
you want constant but hard-fought progression.
Exactly, right. That's exactly it. And so you can get that, but you also want the flavor. And so that's like the tricky line where you sort of very quickly come to that overbalancing situation where everything is just very samey because everything is as powerful as everything else and it doesn't matter what you pick. And that's kind of a bummer.
And we don't like things that are stale.
No, definitely not. And thank you so much for listening to episode 30 of the Select Characters podcast. We do really appreciate it. We are in full-on Thanksgiving fever mode over here, so might be a little bit shorter episode this week, but we will be back next week with some more content. You can, as always, find us online at reddit.com/r/selectcharacters. Send us an email, selectcharacters@gmail.com. Topic suggestions, your thoughts on anything from the world of video games, Facebook, Twitter. I've been trying to hang out in the Steam chat from time to time, so if you want to jump in there and say what's up, I'll probably be there. I'm trying to keep that open. Seemed like a good way to get in touch with everybody. And let's see, I guess that about wraps it up for us. Oh, wait, iTunes, 5 stars. We want all of your stars, or at least 5 of them, if you could spare them.
Yeah.
I know you got 5 stars rattling around in there somewhere.
Check out the YouTube channel, Select Characters Podcast. Just search that on YouTube. Should have a game club coming out tomorrow, on Thanksgiving, though it is Thanksgiving, so it may be Friday, depending on how our schedules line up. So hop online and check that out when you guys have a chance.
Awesome. Stay tuned, and we'll be back next week. Thank you.
Goodbye.